Oh, hello, Kaz. It's that time again.
Yes, it is.
For those listening, it's Liz and Kaz as usual. I assume that we're the favorite people that you've talked about the Riveters with because we've done it most often and you have very few choices. So, congratulations. I'm very happy for you. Kaz, we're in a heat wave. How's that going for you?
I am very thankful that last year my landlord decided to install central air. Because prior
That's
to
fair.
that, it would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, our second floor, like the front of the house, just gets blasted in the afternoons with sunlight,
Yeah.
so it can't keep up. But I am a summer girly, and I was like, thank God I don't have to wear a sweater at home because Josh likes it much colder. We find a super happy medium.
Yeah.
Neither one of us are quite happy, which is, I guess, a successful marriage
That's how marriage
compromise.
works, I think.
Prob friends, I love my husband. He's great. I promise. We're doing great. Yeah, I also made the mistake of baking bread today because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm almost out. It's feels like 107 degrees out.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make this worse. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to turn on the oven. I
Yes.
I really have it together today. Did you do anything silly like that? Take a walk with 70% humidity?
I didn't take a walk. I did have to go outside, but I didn't take a walk.
I did have to go
and,
outside. The
and it was very
horror.
unfortunate. Yeah.
All right. Well, it was also hot this weekend. You went to Buffalo to watch. No, I thought you went.
No. No, I was at work.
My heart. I know nothing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to work this weekend, which is why I wasn't at the Hounds game or the Riveters Buffalo game. But yeah, unfortunate. But
Well, I had full
so it
confidence
is.
that you were there. Your updates were pointed and your comments were welcome while I stood in the sun at the Hounds game. So, but we both rewatched the game.
Yes.
Yes, we have
Yes.
things to say about the game.
Yes.
What is your number one takeaway from this game? Your most salient point?
Um, I was surprised how evenly matched this game was. I the Riveters were still the better team, but just like after the last game against Buffalo when we won 3-0 at home, and 3 first half goals, I didn't expect it to be as much of a like immediate runaway at this game, but I expected a little more from this game. But yeah, no, it was a much more even game than I was expecting.
My most salient point is they could not have put any more lines on that field had they tried, and I wanted to burn my eyeballs out. It took me at least 7 minutes to figure out which lines were actually the edge lines. We had football lines. We had track lines. I don't know. They weren't lacrosse. They were something discus. I literally no idea. There were so many lines. And also, I got real excited because like when not much was going on as we're preparing for the game, I was like, oh my God, I can see the players' numbers. How exciting. What a great camera. And then I was like, I don't understand, Josh, what's happening? He's like, they have the worst refresh rate I've ever seen in my life. I was like, okay. It made me a little ill to like,
yeah.
It was very jolting to watch the movements.
Yeah.
So we focused on different things.
Not a good broadcast to say the least. I mean, better than Erie, but that's a very low bar. The announcers also really not good.
My sound was in and out, so honestly, I quickly tuned them out.
Yeah, you were probably better off.
Which is often the case, honestly. USL, get it together, I guess. Or not, and then we'll keep complaining about it. At least we have something to say.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You were ready. Ready.
The amount of times that they said offsides instead of offside, just like the entire game. That immediately made me go, oh,
I don't trust you.
They don't know anything. And then it did not get disproven throughout the rest of the game.
Well, and also I think the tracker, the time bug on the like on the screen was a
Yeah.
minute off from the field. I don't even know how
Yes.
that happens.
Yes.
So
In the
that
first
was
half it
slightly
was.
confusing.
Yeah, in the first half it was, and then I think in the second half it was correct, or at least mostly correct.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, in the first half it was like a good 45 seconds or so off, which is honestly to me worse than it being a minute off. Like at least if it was a full minute, you can be like, okay, we're 1 minute behind. But they said at like a minute that the stoppage time would start in about 15 seconds or something along those lines, and I was like, what?
What? I mean, it's better than Flower City where we were 10 minutes off
Well, that's
from
true.
like that was incredibly
Yeah.
confusing. I'm still not sure whether that was lights out or someone pushed the wrong button. Like I don't know
Yeah.
how you change the time by 10 minutes. What delightful little quirks we get to watch.
Yes.
We will talk about the game. I swear
Yes.
it. So yeah, I do think that they were very evenly matched. Honestly, I was really impressed with how Buffalo got in our face and was like, "You will not capture and turn. You will not get a breakaway." They were on us, and
Yes.
they were ready for how we play. And I do think that we play very consistently. So it is, if you watch the tape at this point, you're like, "Oh, the way to shut them down is to not give them any space." So that was actually really impressive to watch them take that out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they completely shut down the way that we normally play, like you said. I think they also just, I mean, I don't know if it was the quality of the field or something. It didn't seem like they were able to move as fluidly, and that could just be that Buffalo was on them so much. But even when they were able to get open, it seemed like things were a little slower than normal. So I don't know if that was just it's towards the end of the season, it was hot. I don't know, or if it was just that they weren't able to play their normal game.
Yeah, I'd have to think that it's partially that they couldn't play their normal game because if you can't, they like to capture and turn. Like, and if you can't turn so quickly because someone is like on your shoulder, it really shut down your options to like, do you send it back to who just came from? I also saw a lot of like a movement that we were 2 steps behind the movements that we expected. So we would pass it to a space, and not only was there not a Riveters player, there was nobody there.
Yeah.
And that was, we were just, 2 steps behind our normal play. Meanwhile, it was still a very entertaining game to watch. And I think that overall, I don't have a lot of notes on, like, I'm not really disappointed in the play. I think that this is one of those lesson games. It's like, okay, much like the first games of the season, you have to make the passes or else you give away the ball. This is, you have to learn some more tactics. Did you see any tactics being developed by the end of the game?
I don't know that I did. I think, I mean, especially after Buffalo scored, they just kind of started throwing themselves into the box. So tactics kind of went out the window in the last 10 minutes or so of the game because at that point you're just desperate to get a goal. But I mean, Scotty's shown that he's able to make some tactical adjustments. I didn't really see any major adjustments in the second half or anything like that. That at least stood out. Same formation, same. I don't know if maybe they played a little bit more long balls, that kind of thing, but it definitely was a familiar, lineup and everything. The way that they did stuff today, or 2 days ago.
Yeah,
I just watched it again today.
Speaking of Scotty, someone on the bench got a card. Do you think it was him? They didn't say. I was so disappointed. I was like, tell me who.
Yes.
Who?
I hope that it's Scotty. I guess I could look back and see if the Riveters tweeted it or something, but yeah, they didn't tell us who on the broadcast, and that was very frustrating because I feel like it had to have been Scotty.
I feel like it had to have been. The women don't sit there and like chirp a lot. They don't like.
No.
I mean, they pay attention, but they're not aggressive in the way that you see some other players who are on the bench being aggressive. So I have to imagine that it was Scotty. He does like to holler from the sidelines, and there was a lot going on. So maybe I'm gonna give it to him. It's his card as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and that was shortly after the penalty, right?
Yeah.
Was that? Yeah. So which was, it was probably a penalty, but
Yeah. And then, okay, 2 saved penalties, one
yes,
by each keeper.
yeah,
Just, I think that ours was the better save,
yes,
because we actually wrapped the ball, and that's very
hmm
important. But that, you don't see that a ton, and
no,
that was very interesting to see how both teams reacted to that.
hmm
And then also, like, their keeper was really good.
yeah,
Our keeper was really good. The keepers had a lot to do this game, a
yes,
lot.
they did, yeah. I think I honestly, I mean, I think Pauline obviously had a good game. Any game that you save a penalty is a good game for a goalkeeper, but I do think that the Buffalo keeper just had a little bit better of a game. I mean, she had more to deal with and had
Yeah.
better. He just had a few very important saves ultimately that Pauline probably just didn't even have to make.
Yeah, I think that Buffalo's back line was just not as cohesive as ours was. So
Yeah.
Nels had a little bit more support. But the way that they organized, and, even though Nels had a lot to do, I don't feel like she got flustered. And I was really impressed with the poise that was shown there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been the case all year. She's, I mean, coming out and doing her sweeper keeper thing and that kind of thing. She's been, it takes a lot to do that and to not get like concerned and to just kick the ball out of play and that kind of thing. Like to be able to just stay on the ball and, play with the ball at your feet is impressive. And yeah, like you said, it takes a lot of poise.
I do think she's like reined in that sweeper keeper just a little bit, though, to acknowledge the strength of her teammates.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's not even so much that she didn't trust her teammates or anything like that. I think it was just like, when they were pushing forward and, she can come up and kind of play that third center back position, which I think is very clutch, especially, in a situation. Obviously we didn't see her after we conceded, but I assume she was pushed up pretty high. If the ball had kind of bounced back to her, she would have
Right.
been, pretty high up the field.
Yeah, if you're going to chip the keeper, I mean, that's sort of what it has to be. And I agree. I don't think that it was a lack of trust. It's just obvious that she likes to play so far out of her box. It makes me wildly uncomfortable as a
Yeah.
fan, mostly because we try to acknowledge it in the Steel Army, and then we'll chant about it in the hopes that maybe someone will go, maybe we can chip their keeper. So it's a play style that makes me wildly uncomfortable. And I'm glad that she has a back line that she
Yes.
does.
Yeah, and unfortunately she did get chipped, but not necessarily for playing too far off her line. That wasn't from halfway being chipped.
True.
It was a much closer up. It was the first time that I felt like she wasn't quite good enough coming out. Like I don't know, it felt like there was either a miscommunication or it was sort of like the third goal for us against Steel City, where it was just like there was some miscommunication between the keeper and the center backs, and didn't quite commit to going all the way out for it and couldn't quite get there, and the center backs weren't quite there, and it was just, and then she ended up getting chipped, and that was.
I mean, I think that's a little bit harsh. Our third goal against Steel City was delightful challenge and perfection.
Sure.
This
Yes.
was a little bit of luck.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, ours was definitely our goal against Steel City was much more fun and definitely more. That was it. It seemed like the Buffalo goal was just kind of a kick it and hope that it goes in. Like, they've got one last touch that they can get on it and they're going to try and just loft it over. And it happened to go in. I feel like a lot of time that either goes up and over the bar or goes out wide, or the keeper ends up catching it or whatever. And, it doesn't work. But this time it happened to work.
It did happen to work. And that's even with, I think that our midfield was really good at staying in position this game. Sometimes our midfield like stretches out in kind of like an angle. Do you know what I mean? Some of them are naturally more defensive. And I mean, of course, this is always true. But this game, we were very solid in the midfield. And I think that it helped keep the game so even in the way that it was, so that we could do smaller passes, shorter passes, try to find our footing a little bit. I will say, if I didn't know the final score, this game, rewatching it would have been incredibly stressful. God bless everyone who did it live. I would have been very noisy and abusive.
Yes, I was very unhappy until the very end. And even then, that was just a sigh of relief. It wasn't even like happiness. It was just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. And I think that watching it, seeing that goal go in, I was like, that was just, it was Bumblebee soccer, and it worked. There is definitely skill still there, but the luck there was, thank goodness. I think on that, we do have someone who would like to comment on what happened at the end of the game.
Absolutely. It's time for Mondo's Moment, the top moment of the game from the Mondalorian.
This week's Mondo Moment for the Riveters comes in the dying moments of stoppage time in the second half. Off a corner kick from Tessa Della Rose, Mina Siam converts, scoring the game-tying goal and splitting the points in Buffalo. This is the way.
This has been Mondo's Moment.
I'll admit I forgot that was a corner. So less Bumblebee. I think Bumblebee because like everyone had to come up. Nels had to come up. We were just like, let's go for it. It was the commentator's favorite thing to comment on is A, how many corners there were, and then B, how many people were within the last 15 yards of the box. So over and over again, honestly.
Yes. Yeah, they did talk about how many people were in the attacking third, just incessantly. Well, and they could tell whether it was 15 or 20 or 30 yards because of the football lines, I guess.
I still don't like them. That is not a silver lining. Don't you dare try to sell me.
I didn't say that was a silver lining. I mean that makes their job much easier.
It's true. That's very true. We'll make their job as easy as we can. Also, I think that I was a little frustrated. It seemed like Brian was doing all of the work going forward for a majority of the game. And I don't know. I'm really interested to see what you think about that. Is it just because of being shut down by Buffalo? Do we not? I mean, obviously we have other options. We have good people on the field. Like, why did we rely on her? Not that she didn't do a good job, but why was she like the point person for so much of it?
I mean, I think the last two games she has been, both in the game last weekend and the game over the weekend this weekend. She's been very much the focal point of the attack, but I do think it does boil down to Buffalo just being so stout in their defense and being able to kind of keep us from doing our normal game and keeping everyone else, Tylenda, Nelson, D'Amico, everyone from being able to just do what they normally do and finding the ball and running onto it and that kind of thing like they normally are. They just were kind of boxed out and leaving Sabrina on an island, I guess.
Yeah, it was shocking. I heard Talenda's voice or name once. And I was like, this is just wild. And then Nelson not at all. Although I feel like, lots of goals, but I think she's sneaky. Do you know what I mean? Like she is a quiet player that all of a sudden she's in the right spot in the best ways.
I mean, and even Tandem did have a few good shots. They just didn't either went wide or were saved. And so she was doing things. She was, in the right spot several times. They weren't able to get past the goalkeeper in one way or another.
I don't know if I have any other takeaways. I feel like this is like a shorter episode. It was just it was a back and forth game. I mean, it was really rough. And then the last 5 minutes were very exciting and stressful. Do you have any other takeaways from the game?
Honestly, not really. I do want to say I feel like Tessa's penalty kick wasn't all that great.
Okay, go on.
I thought the one last weekend, of course, in the 7-0 game was pretty weak, but obviously she beat the keeper and that's the job. But I felt like in this one was to the same spot. Also not very, she didn't just like put her laces through it. That was, she kind of tried to sort of between like tap it and let it roll in slowly after the keeper, makes a choice, and just like belting it, which I feel like is always the best way to do it. And it just kind of goes right to exactly where the keeper can get to if they pick correctly and they have a little bit more quality than Morgan Jordan.
Yeah, I think that you put your laces through it. Don't do a silly walk up. I will mock you every time, whether or not you make the goal.
Yeah.
I will have comments and they will not be kind. This is your warning. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I've talked about it before. I know that Tessa is a leader on the field, and I know that her presence makes a difference for the way that everyone squares up and for the confidence that they hold on that field. But I am not sure she has found her place fully on this team otherwise, and like her actual like ball handling contribution. And maybe it's just she was built up in such a way, and we've seen this other places, right? She's built up in such a way that there is A, so much pressure, B, so much expectation. And then probably when it doesn't go right, we are very critical. And she's probably very critical of herself. And so that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy and a perpetuation of, small details. But right now, I think that's a fair call out for another small detail that should she be taking the penalties?
I mean, she's taken every set piece, every corner, everything when she's been on the field. And I don't have an issue with her taking them. But it does, I would just like to see her if she gets another chance to take a penalty, just to absolutely put her boot through it and just, beat the keeper rather than, hopefully the keeper doesn't. Yeah, hopefully the keeper doesn't guess the right way or something.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I'm always an advocate of having at least 2 or 3 people who are taking some of those shots and set pieces. I don't ever want to see it rely on one person, because you never know what's the high pressure game that one person won't be available. What's the crowd like? Oh, the crowd. They had such a better crowd. I was so excited. I heard like little drums and an awooga horn. I don't know where you get an awooga horn. I kind of want one. Sounds great. A child would love that. In the middle of the Steel Army. Be perfect.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I did want to mention that as well. I was pleasantly surprised that Buffalo seemed to have some kind of, I don't know if we never actually saw them, but what the supporters situation was there. But they definitely had a drum and were chanting and singing for the majority of the game.
Warm
like, where were you? Why did you guys not come down to Pittsburgh? That's what I want to know.
Well, I mean, maybe they're afraid of such beautiful views of the city. They didn't.
That's true.
They just didn't know. I am curious. Is that stadium like on water, or is there a breeze at all? I know they talked about the breeze a little bit, and they're like, oh, it could mess up, some of the shots on just like the one end. But with the heat, I feel like they were probably suffering in a way that I do not envy.
Yeah, I don't know where honestly that stadium is. I don't think
perfect.
It's
someday we'll find out.
Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Who knows?
Well, that's true.
Hopefully we won't be in the league long enough to need to know from
maybe they'll come up with us and then we'll find out.
That's true.
Everybody, if all of the water rises, so does the ships, or something businessy like that.
Something like that.
That's how it goes, right? Perfect.
I thought you were going for global warming for a second there.
Well, that's how the water's rising, but
that's how the water's rising.
Maybe we'll stick to soccer this time. Some other time we can get into global warming, and I'm going to talk about therapy again. For longtime listeners, your girl loves therapy. But I guess back to the soccer. Do we want to do top 3?
Sure.
You, as usual, seem to have a hard time deciding.
Yeah.
Do you have someone that you're heavily advocating for?
I think that it's finally Mina's time to be in the top 3. I mean, obviously she got the goal. Again, I feel like every game that we've talked about, she's come in, she's had great hustle. She's looked good on and off the ball. But I think specifically in this one, obviously she got the goal, but she won the 50-50 that led to the goal ultimately. Because it came off of a goal kick from Buffalo that she won in the midfield and then ultimately sprung the attack. And you can see how much the goal meant to her.
Yeah.
I think that she deserves at least a place in the top 3.
Strong agree. I gave her the 2-point spot. So
yeah,
agree.
I can agree with that. I think, like you said, Sabrina probably deserves to be there again just for the amount of work that she put in. But beyond that, I didn't really have. I had Pauline written down as well, but because she saved the PK, but she also got chipped, so I wasn't feeling super strongly about her.
You always do this to me. So we're talking about
Pauline, the goalkeeper, Sabrina Bryan.
Yes. Okay, great. Actually, we're in full agreement on who should be on the top 3. And it's possible. So Bryan, 3 points. Siam, 2 points. Nels, 1 point. That's how I did it.
Yep.
Because like you said, like the rest of this field seemed to get shut down and not be able to be as creative or adapt or you figure it out. And I mean, whatever it is. Those are the points we're giving out because it's all willy-nilly.
Yeah.
I heard a rumor you're keeping track instead of allowing me to give out homework.
I did get a whiteboard this week. And I had them written out prior to this weekend. So I need to find, I don't have a space for another player though. So I'm going to have to recondense it now that Mina has points.
So I still get to give out homework. You should fix that whiteboard.
Yes, I do need to fix that so that Mina can get a spot on there.
That's perfect.
Hopefully for my sake, we don't add another player next weekend or beyond.
I mean, A, no promises. And B, you shouldn't tell me things like this because I'm kind of a turd.
Now you're going to make a point. You're going to pick somebody who plays like 3 minutes off the bench just to...
Listen, if they score a goal, how are you going to fight me?
That's true. Unfortunately, that is very true.
I'm very convincing. I don't have much else to say about the game. I enjoyed watching it. I'm glad that it was a draw. I wish that it was all wrapped up. I still don't understand how playoffs work, but I know that it matters for Friday's game versus Steel City. And man, are they going to have an axe to grind after that game. Do you think their fans do you think the children specifically are going to show up to mock us? Yes or no?
I sure hope so. And I hope they put them in 101 where they normally put the away supporters. And so that we can just go back and forth with the children all night.
That's all. Honestly.
That would be the peak.
We had a child in our last Riveters game who was like dancing and like had all of the vibes.
Yeah.
The children are making the Riveters games for me. Quite honestly, they have sass. They know soccer way better than I do. They have taught me more than one thing.
Yep.
And they just are in it in a way that like I love so much.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun seeing kids be there and be so energized by it. And hope maybe those kids that we converted at the Steel City game will come and be at our section.
What if they root for us?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
There were a few kids that were wearing Steel City stuff right in front of us at the away game, and they started rooting for the Riveters as soon as the Riveters scored that first goal. So
that's perfect.
Not only if they can come and be in our section.
Not only can you buy Riveter stuff, you can buy ammo stuff. Like I'm just here for ammo.
Yes.
Friends, you don't have to fully convert, but you could convert just a little bit.
I had the sticker sheet somewhere.
So there's a sticker sheet? I don't know what this means.
Oh, it's right here.
Oh. This is great radio. Oh, look at that.
And there's a sticker that just says, I'm just here for ammo.
I'm just here for ammo.
Yeah.
Oh.
They were, I think you can get these at the little customer service counters at the Riveters games.
Well, friends, you heard it here. The stickers that you can't see unless you're watching the video are available, possibly at customer service. If not, you should definitely complain to Kaz.
Mhm.
He is at every game. He is a delight, but if he's wrong, someone should tell him, especially
Yes.
small children.
Yes. Very true.
I think that's probably it. On that note, what more do we got to say?
I mean, we could talk a little bit about the Steel City game.
We could. Sure.
If we felt so inclined. Of course, it is the final home game.
Yes.
There's
It is sold out.
Is it officially?
Well,
Okay.
It's never officially sold out.
Well, sure.
If you want to go to the game,
Yeah.
go to the box office. You'll get standing room only. Come stand with
Yeah.
the Steel Army. Those are the right
Yes.
answers. But I think the last image that I saw from Ticketmaster was pretty sparse.
The grandstand's pretty much gone.
I think so.
That's a good sign. Hopefully it's not all Steel City kids. A good number of them is great, but not entirely Steel City kids.
I mean, that's the grandstand's problems. They can't sit with us anyway, so
that's very true.
whatever.
At the away game, I want to shout out. We got the Yinzer Cup was given to us by a Steel City fan.
So good.
They brought
It's
it up
beautiful,
to
guys.
us.
It is a white styrofoam cup with a bottle of Heinz ketchup inside of it. It just says the Yinzer Cup 2025.
Yep.
I don't care what anyone else is calling this derby. It is the Yinzer Cup.
Yes.
Now and forever.
And absolutely, thank you to that random Steel City fan. He didn't actually introduce himself. He just came up and handed it to my dad and said, "Here, you guys were fun. This is great."
You have to bring it on Friday though, because what if?
Absolutely, yeah.
Just in case.
I mean, yeah, you don't want to jinx it. Assuming we win the Yinzer Cup 2025.
I hope we get to keep it.
Yes, hopefully we get to keep it. And hopefully we don't get any more cups thrown at us, because that did also happen at the Steel City game.
I mean, if someone can make it from 101 all the way over to us, honestly, good for them.
That's impressive.
Although I think it might have to be full, and I'm
we
not
don't want to
here.
deal with that.
Never mind. No throwing things, please.
cups.
I take it
No.
back.
No, maybe if as we're walking past, but
We're
still
really
no cups.
tempting fate in the weirdest ways.
It is, of course, the final home game. It's also both the Riveters and the Hounds games this weekend are the final Pride Raiser games for this year.
Oh yeah,
you can still sign up. We got 3 more goals this weekend.
We're doing so good on Pride
I think
Raiser.
we're just shy, or maybe just about at $2,000 total. So sign up. Hopefully each team gets a few goals and puts us over 2,000. We can even, I think we're not that far off from like the record, the Steel Army record.
Oh.
Thanks to having 2 teams, but
I mean,
we'll take it.
we've always wanted the women's team,
Mm-hmm.
and B, I love breaking records for mental health. I think that's great.
Yeah. So that would be great. We'll also be giving away the Steel Army Player of the Year. Figuring out if that's pre or post game, but because the fireworks are also post game, so who knows if they want to delay that. But we will be giving that away at some point. Yes, that's what I would imagine. So we might be doing it pre-game, which is a little different for us, but we will find that out sometime in the next few days and do that at the final game.
I mean, what if the Player of the Year, we do it pre-game, and then that Player of the Year goes on to have like an epic game with 3 goals? We're going to call it the Player of the Year bump.
Yep.
Player of the Year bump every time.
The Player of the Year bump. So, and then we'll have to do it before the last home game every year.
I mean, we've set standards. If we have I'm hoping that we set a standard that we do Player of the Year, and then we have a fantastic final home game of the season. I will demand, quite frankly, that it's before that game every year.
I mean, and that would be understandable.
Mm-hmm. Who's
going
to fight me?
Not me, that's for sure.
We've established.
And then, as far as playoffs go, I mean, for us, it's simple. Win and we're in. If we had won this past weekend, we would have been in. Only the top team in our division goes. So
Wait, that's all. This is new news to me.
Oh, yeah. This is, only the top team in our division goes. So it's now currently down to us, Buffalo, and Steel City. Buffalo plays against Cleveland on Thursday. So if you're looking for something to watch, you can fire up Sports Engine and it's Thursday
Cross
evening.
your fingers about how good the cameras will or won't be, whether or not you will or won't have sound.
Yeah. Hopefully it works in some capacity and you can watch that game. At least keep an eye on the score. Hopefully the score bug works, and that's all that matters. If Buffalo loses or draws that game, I think they're eliminated.
Okay.
Then that numbers start coming into play as far as us on Friday, and that's complicated.
Kaz, I don't like numbers.
Buffalo and Steel City play on Sunday. So there is a chance that if we draw, then, things can happen.
Then we're not in control.
We're not in control.
Woof.
But I think then if they draw it all, like I said, numbers. But win and we're in. That's it.
Let's focus on let's win.
Yes.
I think that's the best option. Wow, I don't. You know what? I already didn't like the playoff decision format, and now I dislike it even more. I'm not a math girly. I don't like it. I don't want to do it.
I mean, the fact that they play Sunday and we play Friday is just going to be, if we don't win that game, I'm just going to be anxious all weekend.
So, Steel City will be tired. So if Buffalo loses and then comes in, if they beat Steel City, that's okay? Question mark.
Again, it depends on.
Woof.
It is quite complicated. If we draw, we'll be on, I think, 20 points.
Okay.
On the season, or 19 points, and if they draw if they win against Cleveland, then I think they'll be 1 point behind us. So
no. Okay.
So then
riveting stuff here, guys. Riveting things for the Riveters.
Yes. Hop in the Discord. We talked about this at length over the weekend. All the numbers are, in fact, in the Steel Army Discord somewhere.
Yeah, I looked at all the numbers and was like, ew, math. And I left out. Yeah.
And understandable.
All right. So I'm just going to focus on when we're in. That is very important to me. And then then it's chaos for whom else. We don't have any idea who we would play. If we're not even where, let's give up the where, but we don't even know who we would play. Correct?
I believe that we would play one of the other division winners from the Central Conference. I think there's 4 divisions in the Central Conference, if I'm remembering correctly.
A lot of people.
So we would play one of the other winners. The other 2 would play each other.
Yeah.
The winner of those 2 games would play each other and then go from there.
And then do they do the weird ball draw like they do for the Open Cup, or is this just behind the scenes and somebody will tell us?
I think they'll just tell us.
Okay, great. I love sometimes just to be told. It makes my life so much easier. Don't hate it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I know that last year Detroit made it, I think, to the semifinals, and they hosted every round.
Mm-hmm. Well, probably because do they play at Hamtramck?
Yeah.
Oh, so they have control of that field.
They have control of that stadium. So I would imagine, between us and Detroit, because I think the other 2 division winners currently in the Central are Kings Hammer, which is in Cincinnati, and the Minnesota Aurora. So
everyone has to go to Minnesota for every game.
Listen, I would go to Minnesota.
I'm just thinking of the travel. They're
the travel would be a nightmare.
Don't worry.
Last year they went to Detroit and played, because both of the first round games will be at the same location.
Oh.
Yes. So if it's Minnesota versus Detroit and us versus Kings Hammer, just as an example, and
it'll be it'll be at one place.
Whoever is, they will. Both of those games will be in one venue. So we will either be, and the second round will be at that same venue, regardless of who wins.
Oh, so it might not be even the like if we are kicked out, we could still have the final.
We could still be hosting the second round.
Does the second round happen very close to the first round? Can they just like stay in the area? Is that what
Friday,
it is?
Sunday.
Oh, so they're probably just like you don't do any more travel.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a lot to learn live on the air. I heard a rumor that we have agreed to potentially host, but it's like it would be like 3 games on the 4th of July.
Yes.
Is that a rumor you've heard?
I have also heard this rumor. Yeah.
Are we starting at 9 a.m.?
If true, I would imagine that, assuming that we make it and assuming that we're hosting, the Riveters would be the second game. They would probably want the to be the prime time of the 2W League games. So I would imagine that there would be a game at 9 or 10, because they have to give room for the 2 hours for the game, plus potentially 30 minutes of extra time and penalties, and then time for them to do the locker room and clear out after that, and then time for the other players to come in and warm up and all of that. So I would imagine that there is a very real chance that on the 4th of July there are 3 games hosted at Highmark, 2 W League playoff games and the Hounds game at 7.
I mean, in the before times, we're talking before COVID. That's what I call the before times.
Yes.
Tailgate did start at 10 on 4th of July, and we definitely did French toast.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the Steel Army's ready. We'll pick somebody for the first game. We'll cheer for the Riveters during the second game.
Mm-hmm.
And hydrate, guys. You're going to have
Yes.
to hydrate. You know, though, I don't think we've ever had someone miss a 4th of July game, even though we started so early. We are responsible chaos. I'm proud of us.
We try to be, at least.
Yeah, we definitely try to be. That's a lot of information to digest, Kaz. I sort of hope that we do host, because I kind of love the idea. But it also, I'm old. I'm already tired thinking about what that day is going to be like.
Yeah.
Imagine your voice just gone.
Yeah.
There will
I know.
be.
And then having to come back and do it on Sunday if we win.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm glad I scheduled my hike for Saturday. I was going to schedule it for Sunday, but I made good choices.
Yes, you did.
Well, guys, that's a lot. Let us know if this worked for you. If you have questions, if they are math questions, again, I will offer up Kaz as a sacrifice. Who will offer up the Discord?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited. We got one more game.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're scheduled for thunderstorms as usual.
Of course.
Let's go.
What else would it be?
I mean, it could be a heat dome. So
that's true.
You choose, Kaz. Heat dome or thunderstorm?
I would much rather have thunderstorms.
All right. Come join us in the rain, and we will talk to you very soon. Bye.
See ya.